Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Beyond the Summit Southeast Asian series. This is Lyrical Dota, joined today by Danny Lee Cass as well as Corrupt Drop Bear on the stats. We're actually in the game this time around, and we're here for the draft. It's going to be happening. Kingdom up against Execration. Should be an absolutely fantabulous series, as we've seen a couple of pretty interesting games here. So move on into the game 3. Danny, are you excited about this one, and what are you hoping to see this time around?
I'm very excited, and I would love to see an equal game, a game where both teams can win and that no one has that massive advantage that we saw in either game. Previous game, you could say it was to a certain degree even between Execration and Kingdom, but there was still Kingdom who had the Rax advantage, that still had all their towers up as well. Not all their towers, but their T3s at least. So Execration didn't have the easiest time there, but I want to see a full-on 5-on-5 game where there's no one that is just absolutely far ahead. Full stop.
Absolutely. That would be the way to really make this happen. And this is the first round in these playoffs. These teams do end up getting knocked out if they end up losing these games. And I think it wouldn't be that big of a stretch of the imagination to say that if Kingdom end up taking this one, it's a pretty big upset. Not a huge one, but at least relatively, considering just how well we've been seeing Execration do over the past weeks. And so Winter Wyvern is going to be the first pickup after we end up banning out the Doom, Slardar, Night Stalker, and the Queen of Pain. I did feel like Slardar was really a strong presence in the last game. That minus armor is just so potent in terms of making every other hero in the game do a lot of damage. And Tusk and Gyrocopter is always a potent combo as well. I like this little combo here from Execration.
I think it was also because it was the Slardar and the Shadow Fiend as well, so you had minus armor packed on top of minus armor. But this time, no Slardar. They can still go back for a Shadow Fiend if they really want to, but he's not as strong without that Slardar. But he is still a very, very good hero if you do want to go in that direction. Gyrocopter is going to be picked up by Execration as well as the Tusk. So they go back, well, they go back for the Gyro. I think both teams have played with Gyro in this series, right?
Yeah, I think so as well. And Tusk last game was really the MVP for me. He was just so consistently able to make the huge plays that turn the game back around. And I would love to see BYB pick up that hero again, because I just felt like he made it a really great play. As for next one here for Kingdom, I wouldn't mind them going back for the Shadow Fiend. I felt like it worked pretty well for them, but they could also go for something like the Dazzle again. This has been a hero that's proven to really be a game changer throughout the whole course of this series. It's interesting that we haven't seen a Queen of Pain, and they do end up going for that Shadow Fiend. I think that's a pretty good play there.
I think Dazzle would have been a little bit too defensive for Kingdom. Having two very defensive supports and not too much aggressive potential, I think it would have hurt them. So, yeah, Shadow Fiend, I'm on board with this pick. There's nothing wrong with the hero. And it also synergizes with the Wyvern. You can also use the Winter's Curse as a setup for a really nice Requiem.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to need to be timed really effectively, because you do need that damage to be dealt to all of the heroes, not just the one guy who's Winter's Curse. And if you end up timing it a little bit off, then you're going to end up getting the 70% damage reduction. But it's kind of a bit like how you have the Yule setup combo for the Shadow Fiend. It's sort of all or nothing, but maybe a little bit more towards the side of being able to have shades of gray, as you do end up being able to at least kill off that one hero with it. So always a nice little combo there. Wind Ranger is also going to be taken out this game. No Darkseer will be making an appearance. Several of the other big heroes that are still in the pool, if we did end up seeing them, Bounty Hunter, I was about to say. Also, Lena has kind of made her presence felt on occasion. Is there anybody else that's sort of conspicuously not here in this draft so far for you?
Oh, not really, honestly, no. But lots of emphasis on the Shadow Fiend pick here, it seems, for Kingdom. They want to make sure that Shadow Fiend wins that mid lane. And I think the one you mentioned, Lena, might be a hero for Execration to consider when it comes to picking up a strong mid lane. Are there any other options outside of Lena, or the typical mid heroes we normally see?
Well, we haven't seen much at all this series, or in the recent past, the TA, which is something that's kind of surprising me. I don't think that Execution will want to run it. Winter Wyvern just counters that hero too hard, in terms of being able to turn her damage onto her opponents or onto her team, or simultaneously being able to, just negate all of the minus armor that you end up getting out of her with the Cold Embrace. So regardless, I do think that hero could be decent, but probably not the one. In lane, I think it's pretty good against Shadow Fiend, but late game, it's countered by the support, which just can't happen. They end up going for the Undying after banning out the Juggernaut. So this is another hero that is going to just sort of synergize with this what looks to be an early game pressure that we're seeing at Execration. And after that last game, I'm wondering if they're a little bit antsy here. It seems like their lineup is built around trying to fight early and often, and maybe feeling like they don't want to wait around for another late game sort of slugfest.
Well, if it's a if that's the strategy that they want to go for, then I honestly don't
10
really see too much
seconds
of an
remaining.
issue with it because we've seen Execration, if they can get the ball rolling,
5
they
seconds
can keep the
remaining.
ball rolling. So if you want to try and go for this early sort of aggressive style of play, then that means that they need to put
Reserve
pressure on
time.
Kingdom. Shadow Fiend is not actually that great when it comes to early game pressure. If the Shadow Fiend falls behind in lane or if he gets killed a couple of times in those early team fights, it can really set the hero back, delay the mechanism or the Sanjanyasha or whatever the Shadow Fiend wants to go for. And you can really hinder what a Shadow Fiend can do just because you slowed down his progression in the game. And maybe that's what Execration is aiming for, going for super early game team fight, put loads of pressure onto Kingdom, and maybe force them into a position where they need to play defensively and also skittish because they don't want to be caught out.
Well, definitely. And the other thing you always have to think about here with this is that Shadow Fiend, particularly when we've seen in this region, they've ended up going for mechanisms the majority of the time. And what that ends up meaning is we do see the Ancient Apparition
Radiant
ban. We'll talk
team
about that in a second. If you, the rest of your team ends up getting killed off in their respective lanes, also due to some early aggression from a Tuscan dying potentially in the off lane, you are going to run into problems there with being able to sort of have any type of supplemental damage. Like the Shadow Fiend on his own, if he gets up the mechanism, he relies upon the damage of the rest of his team. And banning out the Juggernaut, I think, is a wise decision. Probably are going to
10
also
seconds
not really have
remaining.
another great hero. Maybe we end up seeing a PL here out of Kingdom, but
5
I'm
seconds
really
remaining.
concerned about their ability to deal with the early aggressions
Templar
we've talked about a couple
assassin.
times. They do take the TA. Very interesting.
Dire
I'm
team
surprised by that.
pick.
Well, they want the snowball. So TA, it was a suggestion that was quite good by you actually. And even though Wyvern does counter out Templar Assassin quite well, you also have to keep in mind it's technically setting up that hero for the rest of Execration to just completely roll all over that hero that's being healed up. So there's good and bad. There's it's the pros and cons of having the Wyvern Cold Embrace where it can save your ally, but
Radiant
then again it
team
could also
ban.
turn them into a sitting duck. So it might not save them, it might end up ending their life. Kingdom goes back for the Batrider. Now this is peculiar because you don't normally pick up a Batrider unless you want to pick heroes off and that you want to fight as well. Whereas for
10
Execration, they want to group
seconds
up.
remaining.
So Batrider could be a hero that might ruin their plans or at least make it
5
more difficult
seconds
to
remaining.
execute, but it won't really change too much of the game plan for Execration if they
Reserve
can
time.
start it off the way they want it to.
The big thing that I see as a problem here, maybe, is Batrider can't apply a lot of pressure to the off lane. And with the Tuscan dying, you're expecting them to go up top. Um, Maybe here, like, so that means that your gyrocopter is a little bit more vulnerable. Dazzle's still in the pool if you wanted to run him to help keep him alive. But honestly, Dazzle's not the best against Batrider either because you still have the damage over time that might be able to tick through to the throughout the duration of the shallow grave. So I'm almost wondering now if you want to switch up the lanes potentially a little bit and run a gyrocopter and dying tusk like aggro tri lane up top there, and then keep somebody in the safe lane who's going to be able to solo against the Batrider. I don't think that they have
Radiant
to,
team
but
pick.
I'm wondering if that's the route they're going to end up going. Instead, actually, they're just going to switch it on up. They're going to
Dire
go for the
team
Bane. This is probably the safer option. You keep somebody there who's going to help keep the gyrocopter alive, and this actually is a decent answer to the Batrider as well, because if he goes forward onto the Firefly, now you can just nightmare him and then walk away on the gyrocopter. So I like that response a lot better. The only thing that I could see as a potential problem is if Bane sits mid too long and trades hit with Shadow Fiend and whoever else is there in the mid lane, probably the Winter Wyvern, then you're going to end up leaving your
10
gyrocopter
seconds
vulnerable.
remaining.
I think so as well. But also with the Bane pickup, you look at Kingdom,
5 seconds
there's not
remaining.
many disables, so the Bane's going to be able to get some really nice Fiend scripts as well during this game.
Reserve time.
So it could be a problem for Kingdom. Last pick, Clinks.
Hmm.
Ooh, I like this as a last pickup for the last series. But what does
Absolutely.
Clinks bring to the table?
Well, in my eyes, it's going to be just like craziness. That's basically what he brings to the table, and that's what we've seen Kingdom really sort of excel in throughout the whole course of this series. Is when the games get nuts, when the games start to turn into sort of the devolution of pub smashes and everything, then you all of a sudden lose all concept of what's going on in the game, and you're kind of able to take back over from a new meta, which is just a absolutely crazy start. And I think that he roams on into the enemy jungle. He finds out the gyrocopters. He's trying to take stacks, maybe even if he's trying to take out ancients. And all of a sudden, you can't be alone in the jungle there. I expect to probably see an early soul ring out of this Clinks, and then he can start moving around after he ends up picking on up, you know, the one of the large creeps or something. But regardless, this is a very, very aggressive draft out of Kingdom, and is not exactly what I was expecting to see. Honestly, I don't know if we end up seeing Shadow Fiend go for a mech this game. They might end up instead trying to, well, they probably will. It's more pick-off oriented though than group up and fight.
But I think they still need the mechanism.
Yeah.
If they try and go for some sort of push, and even though Execration heroes might be dead, they might still need that extra sustain because Execration still has some decent counter push. So I think the mech is still going to be an asset, but it's up to Kingdom. Do they feel like they need the mechanism, or can they actually survive without it enough that they can start walking all over Execration? The Clinks pick up. So you mentioned all of your ideas about that Clinks. I think the major thing with me is that Clinks he's a decent hero, but you've also picked him into a Templar Assassin, and TA actually does pretty well up against the Clinks because he does mostly single target damage. It's not damage over time. So Shanks is going to have no issues when it comes to dealing with the right clicks coming in from Clinks. When he attacks quicker, though, that's where the issue happens, and Clinks even gets the bounty rune. Oh god, massive win for Kingdom getting both of those runes.
Yeah, really nicely done there. One thing that we did end up seeing was at the end of the movement over here, the Winter Wyvern picks off the rune, which gives him a little bit of extra gold and experience. But I almost would have rather seen Shadow Fiend pick that up to start him off with one soul. It's, you know, somewhat significant at least for being able to make that happen. And we do see a Chilling Touch. This is not what I was expecting. The Ancient Apparition is going to be the one that's in the mid lane helping out for at least a little while as Winter Wyvern heads up top to face off against the Tusk Undying combo. And this is what I was talking about now. You end up with a Bat Rider against the Gyrocopter and leaving, at least for the time being, the Bane alone down here to deal with him, which I think is probably going to be enough. So I really like the way that Execration have ended up moving their lanes. I think it's dangerous to leave the Gyrocopter alone against the Bat Rider, even at the early levels, and TA should be okay here as long as she doesn't end up sort of getting a little bit too frisky with the Ancient Apparition.
So overall, really good stuff for both sides. Now let's see how the lanes happen for both sides. Is it going to be good for one? Is it going to be good for the other? Bottom so far, it's looking relatively okay for the Bat. He's being harassed out by the Bane, as you said beforehand, but he's not being completely zoned out. He's still got the creep wave going towards the tower, so it's looking pretty good for him. Up in the top lane, lots of pressure actually in that top lane. Look at Ponyo. His HP is down to 26 already, has to pop a salve. And we're already seeing the strength of this aggressive dual lane coming out from Execration. Tusk and Undying together, they can dive towers early. And that could be a problem for Kingdom as they're running very fragile heroes. BYB, they're being harassed out by Fruits here. And he won't lose his life, unfortunately, unfortunately for Fruits, as the Winter Wyvern's base attack is a little bit too low. But they will harass him out in the meantime. But it's not end-all for Execration's off-lane. Mid-lane, TA is CSing equally with the Shadow Fiend. So it's not the best situation to be if you're a TA, but what can you really do if there's an AA?
Yeah, definitely. It's a tough situation. Another thing to keep in mind as we move into this is how the jungle farm is going to end up being distributed. So we do have a 3-stack right now on the hard camp over in the Dire jungle. Now, there's two ways you can look at this. One is that you end up giving it to the Shadow Fiend to give him a really good start. And I would love to see an early rotation on in here by the Tusk, probably. I think that Undying can probably sit in the lane a little bit longer, but Tusk is going to be able to move on in there and probably help to get a kill on the Shadow Fiend if they wanted to do that. And then that puts the pressure on him where he wants to catch up, and then you're not going to be able to have the luxury of Bat Rider running into the jungle to try and farm on up his Blink Dagger. Instead, that farm will be regulated to the Shadow Fiends. That way he catches up and isn't just a useless hero throughout the course of the game. Oh, catches Crash Bandicoot on the high ground. Firefly is going to be able to sustain him, though, and unfortunately, they're not going to be able to catch him. Gyrocopter thought about moving over for that one, though.
Well, it would have been nice if they got that kill, but what could you really do? Bandicoot just gets out. A little bit too elusive with those boots on that Bat Rider. If he didn't have the boots, I think it would have been a little bit easier for Execration to get that sort of kill on the Bat. And it looks like they've now rotated the AA into that top lane to ensure that they have the backup necessary for Ponyo if he gets dove on. Because now we're taking a look at these two heroes in the lane. They're closing in towards that level 3 mark. Incredibly tanky. They can honestly tower dive whenever the hell they feel like it, or they can just bypass the clinks and go for the supports instead. I honestly would not have any issues with that. But again, it's up to them whether they want to do so. And it looks like BYB just runs through the lane. And they're going to look at the supports here. They will go for a bit of a slow onto BYB, but the snowball, it's going to be turning only onto the creep wave, so a bit of a taunt onto the supports. BYB are losing a load of HP and having to be there with the body blocks to slow down the supports. And looks like these two losing a little bit too much HP because of that chilling touch.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary, and it looks like they're going to pop dust there also. Not exactly sure. I think that they were worried about the clinks being on top of them. Regardless, we talk a little bit about the mid lane a lot, and we didn't touch on the fact that this top lane is going terribly for the clinks. He's 9-1 in terms of the last hits. Compare that to 17-10 on the gyrocopter, and that's what the pressure is that allows you to really have a great time here. And now we're also going to see this rotation that I was talking about. Tusk is heading back to lane. We do see Shanks manning up against the Shadow Fiend, does dodge away from the last raise. Nicely done there to make sure he doesn't end up getting killed off. But they think that probably what we're going to end up seeing here is TA dropping her bottle, leaving it on the ground, and maybe Tusk TPs in to see if they can help him out. But already in position, Fruits as well as the Ancient Apparition are ready to get in here. And there's the TP on. Tusk is a little bit far forward. I don't know if they're going to be able to get this kill, though. It's a very tense moment. Shards are committed now, but they're coming around the backside. They do end up getting hit on by a couple of heroes. Maybe if they're able to keep them alive through the snowball, nice, they're done by BYB, and they're not going to be able to get the kill on the TA. So even the Batrider roaming on in. This is kind of a little bit of a crazy situation and leaves a lot of room up top as well as in the bottom lane for both the Undying as well as the Gyrocopter.
Yeah, I found it very, very peculiar for Crash Bandicoot to come in, but maybe they were expecting Execration to be a little bit more, to stay a little bit more, and that he maybe would have been able to get sticky napalm stack stuff. He doesn't get it though, and he TP'd in, but then he's also going straight back to Fountain. I thought he would have maybe at least attempted to go into the jungle.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. Oh, Snowball meanwhile onto Ponyo. They're going to be able to catch him here. They don't have the dust committed as of yet. They do end up finding him now. Also end up popping the mango. Zombies are on top of him, and he is going to go down. Unfortunately, with all those TPs on into the mid lane, nobody's there to help him on out when they need help top. And that is a little bit unfortunate, as it looks like the Undying's going to be able to walk away. Tusk might be in a bit of trouble here, but this is just an ancient apparition, and with no help nearby, honestly, he needs to be a little bit careful. There's an opportunity there for Tusk to turn around, but didn't know where the rest of the enemy was, and first blood, go in the direction of the Radiant.
That's when both supports had already left the lane, so it was good decision making for Execration, knowing that there were no TPs available to help out that Clinks. So already seeing the strength of this aggressive dual lane, incredibly tanky, don't care about towers, don't care about anything. They are, well, not invincible yet. If they get some more farm, they can be, but looks like they might try and jump onto BY. They need the Wyvern here, I think, if they want to try and kill him. But they will try and go for a little bit of harassment, at least, to really shove him out of lane. Actually, one more right click would be enough to get him, but looks like he gets out safely. And Ponyo, he doesn't get the kill, but I think at this point, if he can just get the lane, he's happy with it.
Yeah, he's definitely underfarmed, and that was really close there. The Strafe in combination with the Searing Arrows as well as the Chilling Touch, it's a lot of damage very swiftly. And meanwhile, the Winter Wyvern continuing to stack on up this jungle. We're up to about a 4 or 5 now on the hard camp, and it's kind of feeling like we need to be able to react pretty quickly here. I think that this is going to be a pretty decent stack taking, and it looks like it's all going to be going to the Shadow Fiend with some levels going to the Winter Wyvern. So this is going to delay out the Batrider's Blink Dagger a little bit. He's at 1,000 currently gold, and really wants to be able to get that to remain relevant in this game, but it's all going to be going the way of the Shadow Fiend. I'm not sure how I feel about this, considering he was already relatively close to the top of the net worth. I almost would have rather see the bounty or the Batrider go for it and then start making moves around the map.
I agree with you 100% there. I'm really surprised. Maybe they feel like they need that first item on the Shadow Fiend more than the Batrider Blink. Although I feel like Crash Bandicoot, well, I guess, then again, look at Crash Bandicoot's level. He's level 4, he's not really close to that level 6, and I think Yoru did not crash, he crashed the party, the stack didn't happen. Oh dear.
Dire's
Well,
bottom tower is under attack.
That happens. These
It
things
does
happen.
happen.
We're going to end up seeing a tier 1 tower go down here in the bottom lane as the Gyrocopter and the Bane are going to be able to take it down. Top lane, are they going to be able to actually take on out the Clinks here? He's in a little bit of trouble. They don't have another snowball for a little while. Soulrip has in the area if they want to be able to commit that one. Tombstone has already been taken out, and it looks like Undyne's going to be able to get away on 58 HP. They do tossing out one more shards onto the Clinks, and there's going to be the TP away. Could have gone for the raise, not going to be able to get there in time, as we do end up seeing the Undyne just walk away from that one. Easy breezy, and they're in a pretty good spot.
They didn't lose their lives, and I think the scenario here for Execration is that, yeah, they didn't kill the Clinks, but they had to send them back to base again, and this is a situation that you don't want to be in if you're a Clinks. He's buying a Soul Ring, as you suggested, and Ponyo's really not having the best time in this game, and I want to point out the weakness of the Clinks is that he is in a similar boat to Outward Devourer as well as Ricky, where these are heroes that, yeah, they can farm like traditional heroes, that's fine. They don't have the best wave clear, and you don't typically want to be in lane farming with them constantly. You want to be getting gold through kills, and because the Clinks is set so far back already, he's not going to be able to contribute too much without his teammates to help him out. So this Clinks, he can come back with kills, but he might put himself at risk doing so. But you still don't want to sit in lanes with him either.
It's just there's not a great place for him, and he hasn't snowballed enough in laning stage to be able to really start, going into the jungle and picking people off. And honestly, Extrication isn't a draft that they're going to want to do that a whole ton. You've got the early aggression that's coming out, and probably going to be able to find a kill here on the Shadow Fiend also. Oh, this is going to be devastating. If they're able to take him out before he ends up getting all of his gold spent, we got to watch this very carefully. He is going to maybe be able to go on down here and doesn't quite get off his gold either, ends up losing a decent amount of it in that engagement. That is so frustrating for a Shadow Fiend.
It's really upsetting. He's sitting on a lot of gold though, 2.5k. What is this supposed to be?
I'm not exactly sure. I'm wondering if he's debating between going for Sanj and Yasha and going for the mechanism. Again, the big problem that I ended up seeing with the mechanism for the Shadow Fiend is that if you get it and you don't have the damage from the rest of your team, you really don't contribute a whole heck of a lot to the team fight. You need somebody. That's why you end up seeing sometimes the Shadow Fiend Gyrocopters. We do see the Fiend script on top of this Ancient Apparition, and this is going to be a kill here as the shards come through, because you need the amount of damage to follow it up in conjunction with a Splinter Blast maybe from a Winter Wyvern. I don't think he really knows what way they were going to go, and he's actually going to go for a Shadow Blade.
This is rather peculiar, but I've seen games where Shadow Fiends pick up Shadow Blades and they turn the game completely on its head because the other team doesn't expect it. So if I was Execration, I honestly would not be expecting a Shadow Blade. If they do scout out the Shadow Amulet though, then they're going to have an idea and they can already start preparing for this. Because you know what? Kingdom has a Clinks and Execration was going to buy detection anyway. So Shadow Blade this game, but they have it. So it's not going to be that big of a deal for Execration really, but they just have to know that it's up, and they don't right now, unless I think they may have seen it with the illusions actually. Depends if they checked Lee Honky or not.
Well, this is going to be the reveal right here in just a second or two. He's going to try and take this out. If he doesn't get a kill with this, this is like terrible. He's trying to go for the perfect angle, and I don't know if he's going to be able to find it. Winter's Curse committed. That's going to be coming on out and able to take him out. So the Winter Wyvern is the one who ends up getting the final kill. Shadow Blade revealed. It looks like at this point in time, Clinks might end up getting killed if he's not careful. He ends up bottling the invisibility rune. They don't have any reveal at this point, though, so Clinks just walks away from that one. So that's about the best that you could hope for. That's the play. And I don't know if we're going to end up seeing Extrication get caught out like that again.
They shouldn't, but the thing is that what makes Shadow Blade so great on the Shadow Fiend is if you're going up against a draft that isn't going to stick together, is going to consistently move around by themselves or in groups of 2 or 1 or maybe even 3, Shadow Fiend can go for small pickoffs like that, and he can't really be punished, whereas if Execration decide to move as a unit, as a 4 to 5 man unit, then it becomes more difficult for him to actually land those Requiems. So depending on how Execration move, it could be a relatively easy game for Shadow Fiend, or it could be much harder. They get a kill onto the Bane, which is it's nice, but it's just a support. They're going to go for a secondary smoke as well. They don't have Lasso though, so going to be quite a bit of commitment. No Winter's Curse or anything. They don't have Disable if they find anyone.
So we got the Shadow Blade pretty early in terms of relative to how you normally end up getting it, but I really don't love it, particularly with the Clinks. I think that it can still find those kills, and I like it a little bit more because you're able to set it up with either the Lasso or the Winter Wyvern ultimate. But relying so much upon this, it feels to me like maybe you're sort of losing the value of the hero in other ways. I guess that it's hard to fight into the lineup given what they have anyways. Clinks is going to run on into them. I think that this might be almost gem time for Execration as the next big item on one of these heroes. And if he wants to, he could opt to go for him. Isn't going to be planning to go there for the kill on the Undying, and instead setting his sights on the Gyrocopter, who is a bit of a tasty snack if they're able to catch him. Blink Dagger is up on the Batrider, who's coming on into the middle of him. Firefly has been committed, and this should be an easy kill as the A blast is going to come on out. Actually, Nando dropping a little bit low. Is he going to be able to find the kill on the he actually kills off the Batrider, and Clinks hasn't taken him out yet. Also, the Shadow Fiend dies in the mid lane. How did that happen?
Oh my goodness. So Execration do not lose the bat. Sorry, they don't lose the Gyrocopter. They get a Batrider kill, and in the mid lane, they get the Shadow Fiend kill. Execration, what are they doing? What are they doing? They even get an AA in his own base. What the hell is happening? They're even going to go for Fruits as well. They're going to go for Winter's Curse onto Shanks there, but TA has refraction charges. It's going to protect him from his own allies, and even gets the kill anyway. Oh, okay, this is not the game for Kingdom, it seems.
Alright, and Ponyo here is going to be in the middle of everything. If he tries to turn onto this Tusk, he's going to still be able to get out of there. And now they know he's in the area. If they wanted to, they could chase after him. But just a series of somewhat strange engagements. Shadow Fiend isn't going to be able to keep up with this TA at this point, and she's getting closer and closer to a Deso after going for that Yasha. Oh man, this is a very strange set of initiations. 7,500 currently net worth onto Execration in the lead, 4,000 experience, and meanwhile we have the Bane behind enemy lines. He's a little bit caught out here if they end up finding him.
Man, so we're 15 minutes into the game. Ponyo has showed himself a couple of times trying to go for kills. They will lasso Nando, and this should be a kill under the gyro unless he has a miraculous escape again. But yeah, he goes down nicely. Kill goes to Ponyo. And I think this is going to be a major pickup here for the Clinks because he needs gold. And unfortunately for him, we've seen, how many times have we seen him miss kills? I think we've missed 3 kills just because he didn't have enough damage.
Yeah, and
so for Ponyo,
it just feels like, no problem. It just feels like I mean, right now he's got a soul ring and he's building into a medallion. So like, fine, you're going to be able to sort of hit a little bit harder, but I don't know if you're really going to be able to stand up to any of the AoE damage that's coming out from here. If Gyrocopter or the TA about to jump on top of him, like, they can find this kill so easily. He has such little HP, 720. He's not in a position where he can fight. It's just going to come down to them actually finding him, and I think that probably a gem is going to need to be an investment that they make.
I'm just wondering, when does Execration want to pick up that gem? Because they've got items that they're trying to finish up as soon as possible. Has Tusk finished the mechanism? He does. It's actually coming on the courier now with the TP scroll for Lumik. So Mecha's done for Execration. They have a Deso finish up on the TA. This is the perfect timing for them to make things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's worth knowing that the Clinks just picked up a DD as well as his medallion, so is going to be able to fight a little bit more effectively, and probably based upon the movements that he's making right now, going to go for trying to push on out this top lane and taking out the tier 1 tower. Roshan is available if they wanted to smoke on into here. There isn't the best vision. Well, actually, there's great vision all around it if you end up seeing pretty much Dire have complete and total vision of their jungle and are going to be able to see everything that's going on here, as we do see Execration just continue to try and get on up the farm. I do want to see them try to move on into a fight, though, because, like you said, they have this great power curve. It seems a shame to waste it.
I'm really surprised. What are they waiting for? Are they hoping that someone comes out and their baby fed a kill? Are they waiting for something? Is there anything that they're waiting on Nando, perhaps? He's got a Yasha. No major items on him, but I think that might be more than enough for him to just fight early. Maybe they're worried about the Shadow Fiend.
I guess that probably is a big part of it also, is that if they do get initiated on with the Winter Wyvern Curse into the Shadow Fiend ultimate, like, he hasn't been showing in lane, and as soon as he does, then they start to move around and make more stuff happen. So that rocket is going to eventually hit on top of him, but this is going to give them a little bit more more leeway to move on over here, as we do end up seeing Shanks just push on down this tier 2 tower. And this is a pretty great engagement here. Now we do end up having the Clinks getting caught out. Oh god, the Bat Rider ultimate has been committed at this point on top of the Bane. They do end up dropping down the Sentry Ward, just barely able to catch him. He's actually stuck in between those trees there, and they end up dropping the Sentry Ward. The Brain Tap is going to be enough. A Blast coming on, going to connect onto 3. Also the Requiem of Souls, nice Nightmare the defensively. I think that we're still going to see the Bane go down. They don't have enough damage here, but it still is a trade at the end of the day for the Clinks for the Bane. I think that's worth it every day of the week.
For Execration, of course. And they're losing the Clinks again. So this Clinks is now sitting on 2 deaths, 1 kill, 60 CS. They get 8 of Roshan though. Now Nando, he wants to kill onto Fruit. He's going to try and go into over the tree line with the Winter's, with the Arctic Burn. Sorry, he goes down pretty quick. Shadow Fiend was thinking about going in there, but too exposed if he tries to go for a Requiem and all those heroes. And even if there was a Winter's Curse, I think it would have still been risky because there was an Aegis on the TA.
Well,
and TA also has a Blink too in the stash.
The other thing there was that they committed the A Blast, they committed the Requiem and the Bat Rider Lasso all for a kill on the Bane, and then they weren't able to defend Roshan. Like, that team fight, you lose also the Clinks on top of just being able to get a support off of those 3 ultis. You needed so much more out of that fight, and unfortunately now with none of those big abilities up, how do they defend high ground? Like, they've got the Aegis up on all these heroes. They're going to be able to clear out the creep wave relatively quickly, and with the glyph there, it's going to be staying alive, but I'm so concerned about their ability to really sustain it all here. Clinks is taking out the tier 1 tower top, but that just means that now for Execration, they know that nobody else is going to be home to be able to defend against this. Nice raise, and this is about the best thing that you could have for Kingdom, is they have the Great Wave Clear.
So for Execration, it looks like they don't really feel too comfortable pushing in the mid lane. So they're back up, and it looks like they're going to try and go Clinks hunting, it seems, as they know he's up top, so they have detection. There's a blink on Shanks. Gonna go for the rune first, it seems. Just a bounty, down towards bottom. Invisibility rune, of course. Just give it to BYB, it's fine. It'll be set up for somebody, or they'll scout someone out at least. But they know that he is invis. Can they jump on the Clinks? They need detection, they know he's there. Ponyo, he's fine. There's no detection on TA. If Shanks had detection, then Clinks is gone.
He was running through that Sentry Ward now. They were just looking for one last hit. They are going to catch sight of him again, and he might actually just drop down a call down to see if he can find him, but not going to be able to do it. Still such a weird game right now when you end up having all of these heroes with invis going around and trying to find each other out. It's just it ends up creating these very interesting dynamics where you never feel safe anywhere all across the map.
And that's an issue, because if you don't feel safe, you just can't go for the plays that you want to. And BYB, invis ran out just as the Shadow Fiend backed up with the Shadow Blade. So, oh, they're going to go for a really nice kill out to Nando. Actually, and Gyrocopter just got completely caught out as there was no vision over there, so they had no idea that there were all the Kingdom heroes rotating onto the side. And Execration, they lose the Gyrocopter. They got heroes still moving into the mid lane though. This is quite ballsy. If Kingdom wants to go for a beeline towards the mid lane on those 3 heroes, they absolutely can, and they don't have to worry about a Gyrocopter cooldown.
Yeah, and with the Aegis still up, it's kind of an interesting point. I think that they probably wait at this point for the Gyrocopter to get back up, and he TPs to the mid-tier 1. Maybe they wrap around here, and actually, if they can find this kill, this is going to be huge, because Gyrocopter's going to be back up. They're going to be able to do it. Walrus Punch is going to be committed. Death damage going out as well. The Tombstone has now been dropped. Crash Bandicoot in a little bit of trouble. He's getting slowed on down by the TA trap. They're trying to chase. Do have that Blink Dagger you talked about. There's the A Blast. He's not going to be able to throw that one out. He is eliminated from the fight, and now Gyrocopter with the creep wave is going to come join his buddies. They're chasing now immediately after this Clinks. I don't think that he does have detection at this point, but is going to be able to lay on down the call down. It's starting to not quite hit, unfortunately, and is sort of wasting his time. Probably just wants to head on up to the mid lane, where that's where the action is, and they're going to start taking down the tier 3 tower.
And Kingdom, they can't do anything about it. They've got no Winter's Curse. They've got no Shadow Fiend for 17 seconds. They've got a Bat Rider with a lasso, but even if he lassos somebody, the damage follow-up is not quite there for Kingdom. So let's hope that they're going to be able to salvage something at least, because if they lose a Rax now, it is way too early for them to lose a Rax. So here we go, straight onto Nando, onto the Gyro. He's going to be kept alive with the Glimmer Cape, and Crash Bandicoot survives just by a tiny bit, but that was also going to be his setup here for Execration. They finish him off. There's no lasso. There's no Batley Honky, though. He wants to come in, gets one hit off. Couple of races, has a Requiem, actually gets punched into the air, and all the damage from Shanks actually bursts him down the process. Now Fruits gonna go for the curse. They were gonna kill onto Shanks, but it's an Aegis. They really don't care. Now the Wyvern gets shot down. Ponyo's still alive with Yomu Kompaku, and all of a sudden TA 2 hits onto the AA. He melts, and now the dust as well onto Ponyo. And a complete team wipe for Kingdom. No buybacks. They honestly could lose another T3 if they want to try and go for this in Execration. They're thinking that thing. T3 gone, Rax gone, and Kingdom with no buybacks. I think this is it.
Oh my goodness. Really great there. The team fight, the execution, all of it. And you saw the Batrider jump on top of the gyrocopter, I believe, and try to take him down. And they just weren't able to burst him down quickly enough. And in fact, the Batrider ended up getting taken out. Like, that's not the way that the initiation is supposed to go. And you're really feeling just the power of this TA pick here. I was expecting more to become of the Winter Wyvern, being able to keep him alive, as we do end up seeing and hearing everything crashing abound as the Kingdom crumbles. It's all good, don't worry. Kingdom crumbles, I'm going to say it again. And I think that they're finally going to end up being able to get out of here. So the Tier 2 tower is still up in the top lane. Kingdom do not want to drop out at this point. They are so close to being able to move on in this tournament, and unfortunately, I don't know if they're going to be able to have enough to make it happen. In terms of the net worth lead, 20,000 at 24 minutes into the game. Experience is hovering around that 14K mark. And just all across the board, they have everything that they could possibly need to push on forward. And I don't see them stopping anytime soon.
They don't have to, because they know that these heroes in Kingdom, they're not quite there yet. They know that they're not at full potential as of yet. And obviously, if you're at that point where you can do this now, and Kingdom's not ready for it, just go for it. Just push it down, finish up the game. There's nothing stopping you. And for Kingdom, do they have anything that could really stop this? I honestly don't think so. They will get a kill on Sananda, who is going to be caught out by both the Shadow Fiend and the Queen's Winter's Curse has to be committed, although the healing's going to be there. Nando, Ghost Scepter, he will get picked off though, as he gets landed on by the Ancient Apparition. But here comes Lee Honky, going to be taken down by Lumic with the Fiend's Grip and the punch as well onto poor Ponyo, who just got crit to hell by Shanks. Blink out by the bat as he knows he's not going to be able to help his teammate out. And we now have a T2 tower that's going to go down. Two heroes, or one hero, sorry, with no buyback, which is the Shadow Fiend, and Kingdom in a defensive position whilst defending super creeps.
Oh my goodness. It's 20-6. That's all you need to say. It's ridiculous. It's just a very, very large lead that was taken early by rotations. Maybe moving a bit too far forward, not able to get off the Cold Embrace. They do end up connecting there, but the Nightmare is going to be committed to keep Crash Bandicoot away from his buds. The Snowball breaks away from that Flaming Lasso. He's going to drop to Shanks, and now I think that this is finally going to be it, as Kingdom are soon to throw in the towel. I am sure of it. We are also seeing the Courier go down in terms of net worth. What was that? That was actually the Radiant Courier that ended up going down. So they end up losing the Mechanism and the Urn, but you know what? To no avail. GG ends up getting called. You are going to see Execration move on to the next round of the Beyond the Summit SEA series. Oh my goodness.
So this ends up being a raffle stomp for Execration. No issues. They won the lanes. They found the objectives, and Kingdom had no chance to come back. Was there ever a point in the game where Kingdom had a decisive team fight?
It didn't feel like it. They got 6 kills throughout the course of the match, and it just, or 5 kills rather, excuse me. One of them was a suicide that ended up happening, and I never felt like there was ever a point where they were in the lead. The draft I felt was so superb out of Execration. You looked at the way that those lanes were set up. TA was going to be fine there. The pressure from the Undyne and the Tusk onto the Clinks just made him really useless throughout the rest of the game. And then the Bane was able to keep the Gyrocopter alive against the Batrider, which can sometimes be a difficult matchup if you're not careful. So all in all, good draft of the lanes, good execution, 12-0-5 TA, everything that you could possibly hope for.
So congratulations to Execration. So we're going to be seeing more of them. Kingdom, in the meantime, I think at this point they're just going to practice a little bit more, and hopefully they can come back next tournament to see if they can make it through. I would like to see this team eventually make it through to one of the bigger tournaments. I think Kingdom, they have potential, but sometimes they're just going to polish up a couple of things, and I think they're good to go.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys again for watching. It was an absolute pleasure casting for you guys at Lyrical Dota, at Danny Lee Cast, at Corrupt Drop Bear on the stats. And that's going to do it for us. I do believe that there's going to be more Dota being played throughout the course of today. Not exactly sure where that's all going to be, but I'll let you guys know in chat if you want to check it on out. We're going to be back again tomorrow night, I do believe, at around the same time. We'll end up checking back in through there, but all the information will be on the Twitch page in just a few minutes here. Until then, take it easy, go home and watch some Dota, play some Dota, do your things. I'll see you guys next time. Adios.
GG.